to Ashling's Holistic Health Show. I'm Aisling Fitzgibbon, holistic nutrition coach and occupational therapist. This show brings you the best tools and ideas for you to take your health into your own hands, your true place of power. So, hi Ciara, how are you today?
Hello Aisling, I'm wonderful, thank you for asking.
Thanks so much for having me down in your lovely home in Kenmare.
You're so welcome, it's great to have you visit.
Yeah, it's a really, really lovely day and finally the sun is shining. We're getting our lovely Kerry summer.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me about where you're up to with your journey? Like what is it that, like what's the stage that you're at now?
Oh, it's a big question.
Yeah.
We've known each other for how many years now? About 6 years, 7 years?
Oh, about 7 years, I'd say.
7 years, yeah. And just for a bit of context, when we met, we were both somewhat involved in, largely actually involved in activism.
Mm-hmm.
You were to a much larger degree than me, but I was still involved within the groups and the communities and so on that were battling different things that we saw as problematic here in our beautiful home, which is Ireland, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And we've moved through the evolutionary journey from that point of realising that if we truly want to help, which of course we do, that's what it's all about for us. You know, we have hearts that deeply, deeply care about humanity and the welfare of the planet and the welfare of our beautiful country very much as well. Then it's all about our how we evolve our own lives, essentially. So in the time that we've known each other, we've both gone on our individual journeys of completely pulling away from the battle and realising that it's about coming home to ourselves and basically making our own lives work. And through making our own lives work, having a ripple effect that evolves all of life.
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm at in my journey right now is that I have completely relinquished any of the previous desires that I had to be out changing things in the outer sense.
Yeah.
And I am now establishing what is my true vision for life, which is, as I see it coming through me, is expressing the most beautiful and joyful and abundant life that I possibly can for myself and teaching others how to do the same thing. So I've moved entirely to working with individuals in a coaching capacity who are ready to take the same journey of realising that it's in creating a life of magic for ourselves and specifically a life of high magic that we have the most benefit to humanity, and that involves all of the things that we have previously seen as not being spiritual, including huge abundance, because our huge abundance is actually what will change the face of lack consciousness that is being experienced by most of humanity at the moment. And essentially all the things that we can establish for ourselves is what is doing the work now. So where I'm at on my journey is that I'm on that, and I'm just really enjoying the feeling of, this is it. That's all that's required now. Yeah,
because I suppose, as you say, we both started off very much with a huge, huge desire to be of service and to help as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
And we were looking to the outside to see what we could fix.
Absolutely.
And then that has led us, that journey led us to where we are here today.
Absolutely.
And really is the work on the self, isn't it? And how
very
that
much,
then...
Very, very much, yes. And then when you... Sorry, were you
going
to say more?
No, but that's really, I think, the journey into that is a very profound journey, because so much of all of the, I suppose, illusions that you've held, they start to be dissolved over and over and over again. Because you think, I'll go here and I'll do this, and it's all this emphasis on the outer, whereas this now really is the whole emphasis on the inner space, isn't it?
Very much.
The inner self.
That's beautifully
and bringing
described.
that through. Yeah.
Absolutely, beautifully put.
Yeah, whereas before it was kind of like this whole activation to really do everything on the outer. Whereas I suppose, like for me, I never experienced that before I did activism. Do you know that this huge desire to go out there and emphasize on trying to fix things and trying to do as much as possible. And then that led me, I met you, and you obviously put me onto this path of realizing there was another way to go. So it's really is the most, I suppose, transforming thing when you are able to find your way, because everyone has their own individual path with this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like I love what you're saying, like within your own work now, you've done the journey yourself, and now you're in a position where you're able to coach and go through the signposts and set the foundational work in place for
Very
people.
much.
Because everyone has to, like, it's not like, because I think sometimes people can hear, oh, that's great, you're doing that, you must be doing it for everyone, but it's not one person to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And by that, just to make sure I understand you, do you mean that there are many of us doing this
Absolutely.
and we'll reach everybody in that way?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like, as in, like, you could hear that, say, oh, all is the self, therefore it's only, I don't know, one person or maybe a small, tiny handful of people that have to do this. But I think it is kind of more and more people taking up their own mantle.
Many are.
Yes. But not everyone, but the people who are called to that.
There's definitely a movement in that right now, and many are called, yes. And it's interesting that you say that, because I've spoken to quite a few people who've said that last November 2016, they spontaneously experienced the landing in a new way in, yep, this is my part to do. And we're activated into a whole new wave of internal spiritual activism, if you want to put it like
that's
that.
It. That's definitely it, because it's like people would look at me, I suppose, and I had such a huge journey as an outer activist, like politically and, you know, really out there. And then, as you say, actually, you might look on the outside as if you're not doing anything. But actually, the inner spiritual activism is probably the deepest journey you'll ever go on.
Very, very much. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because metaphysically, the great mystic in Ciara has said that inner space has 9/10 of the power. So effectively, whatever you're doing in inner, you're doing 9 times as much as the little bits that you could be doing in outer. So it's completely backwards to what it might seem to those who haven't been on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's amazing when you realise that that's actually where your true power lies.
Very much.
And you only have a very limited capacity what you can achieve on the outside.
Alone, yes.
Alone? Yeah. Obviously, it's doing the inner and then matching it with the outer action.
Very much.
And then that leverages.
But it's got to come from the source, being the inner, and that's what gives you the real power in the outer. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I think, I suppose just for a lot of people who will have seen all the different causes that sprung up, you know, the past couple of years, like people are becoming much more aware of the water and the food and politics and all these things.
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone wants to play their part, everyone wants to help. But then it's kind of like, it's basically finding where your true place is and where your true power lies.
Absolutely. It's finding your own unique song and singing that is absolutely the greatest benefit that we can have. And as you said, it's not about helping everyone.
Yeah.
I used to feel like I was here to help everybody, you know, and I know that you recognise that as well. But actually, in reality, my strong suit is I help a very small group of people who then go on to help more and help more and help more. So it's about finding whatever is our absolutely unique thing.
Yeah.
And dealing with that as the only thing that's our concern, really.
Yeah. It's amazing, because for me, I suppose what really profoundly changed me was like having the relationship with you and hearing all these concepts, you know, through Almeen's teachings, and when you were explaining the different things, when you were saying that, you know, our growth used to come through opposition. So almost like that was the way things were. So I think there is an element of people kind of staying stuck in that and not realising that there's something new altogether available.
It's coming through, yes.
So could you touch upon what is the new kind of the way?
Absolutely, I could. And first of all, just to touch on what you were just saying there, a great deal of that, and I know we spoke about this earlier privately amongst ourselves, with many holding on to the old way, is because there has been a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And I think even for those who've had very cushy lives, there is trauma to the human soul. You know, there's a lot of painful things happening in the world, and we feel that. It's our nature as human beings. We're feeling beings. So many hold on to things due to the great disappointment at what we've perceived as many ages of painful experience. And we're very fortunate that we've encountered Almeen and her incredible tools, because what they do is they clear that from our system so that we have a fighting chance of letting go of the old way.
Yeah.
And I think for those who don't have those tools, it's very difficult. And I have great compassion for understanding the immense difficulty in releasing the old ways.
Exactly, yeah.
So the new way is the way that is absolutely supported by life now, and it is that we grow through experiencing the most beautiful experiences that we can possibly imagine. The deepest love, the deepest joy, the greatest abundance, the most wonderful extraordinary things that we can imagine that just fill our soul with the feeling of being adored by life. Embracing those things and going after those things is how we experience growth now. Life has been completely flipped on its head. But like I was saying, for so many, the idea that that could even be possible is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, especially as you say, coming from experiencing a lot of trauma, and then to hear this, there's a huge, I suppose, every time I remember my conversations with you, it's like you would always basically remind me that there's a huge gap. There's a journey that you have to go on.
It's a journey.
That you have
Absolutely.
to, yeah, and it's
Absolutely.
not a process that you can jump into overnight.
That's exactly it.
Because I think in the journey as well, which I used to be very impatient. I want to be there, I want to be there, I want to be in this new, new space, new template. Whereas now I realise, no, it's the journey. You gain so much from the journey is absolutely invaluable.
Absolutely. And that's so interesting because we can't be in the new without dealing with what's there right now. That's such a key point that I think a lot are missing.
Yeah.
And the journey that I've noticed that so many are on right now is gradually opening up to the idea that it can be different while simultaneously releasing the pain that's been there. And that's the process,
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, many want to jump to the new without actually addressing what they're attempting to leave behind, and it simply doesn't work like that.
I know. And actually, as you're speaking, I'm just the whole analogy of like, say you're in an old house.
Yeah.
And you have all these rooms that have loads of rubble and,
Rubble,
old clothes and cobwebs everywhere, and you all of a sudden want this new house. But you have to obviously sort out the old.
You do. You have to clean out your house.
Clean it out, and then the new space can come through.
Absolutely. That's a brilliant analogy, actually. Yeah.
So I think for me, a lot of people who are on this path, I suppose they kind of come up against different brick walls, really, I would call them. And they want to do this, they want to clear out their stuff, but it's like they feel like they're going round and around in a circle. So could you maybe speak about what is something that you can do in that case with somebody who has done huge amounts of self-work and has been on this journey for a long time?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that I'd like to mention, and one of them, again, to quote Almeen, she has stated that so many light workers, despite their absolute best efforts to clear and clear and clear, have been absolutely perplexed as to why they just can't seem to get past certain issues, and they just keep coming back up again, and old things repeat themselves seemingly ad infinitum.
Yeah.
And specifically, she said that until we deal with our inner family, we will never get beyond those things.
Okay.
The inner family is one of the main tools that I work with in my work with private clients, but I'm not speaking about my private work here. This is just general information,
Yeah.
And what the inner family is it's the pieces of the deep psyche. The psyche is one of the components that actually forms our reality. So if we're not dealing with it, our reality is being formed from something that's completely unconscious to us.
Okay.
The only way to actually create the reality that we truly want is to deal with the tools that form that reality, of which the psyche is one. And the inner family, in its most basic sense, deals with 4 pieces of the psyche that are on the vertical or physical axis of existence.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 deeper ones. You know all of this, of course. And the 4 deeper ones deal with the horizontal or the feminine.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of people, what is pertinent right now is the 4 primary ones, as they're referred to, that deal with physical life. And they form a solid template, a solid foundation is a better word, that enables us to build our new house on top of that foundation.
Okay.
So working with the inner family is an absolutely crucial step for those who have been working for a very long time and just can't seem to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Establishing the foundation of the inner family is the thing that will take them to that next level. And in metaphysical terms, it will take them beyond ego identity, which is where we're dealing with our past stories that just go on and on and on and on, into a different state of consciousness that is not bound to the script that we've been following, and where we're actually free to write a new script. So the foundation of the inner family is one crucial aspect in that. But there are other things as well, and one of them I think is something you actually wanted to talk about, which is fragrance alchemy as a tool.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, well, I've just been really, I suppose, astounded, because obviously my primary focus is working with nutrition. But I found again and again with people that just using, say, the nutrient therapy and the diet and different things, that it just wasn't deep enough. It wasn't going to the root of, say, all the emotional baggage and the old stories. Very, very difficult to actually clear them. You know, trying to do things with mindset.
Yeah.
And creating a daily discipline, you know, with affirmations and all these kind of things and different wellness practices. Yes, all that helps and it creates that foundation. But in order to really clear out the body and refine everything, the fragrance alchemy to me is the ultimate.
Totally.
And it just basically, it just brings everything together. I think you can't do one without the other. They both work together.
Very much.
But I was introduced to them through you, but I suppose initially I was like, oh yeah, I think only through practicing that I actually realised just how absolutely powerful they are. Like literally incredible tool, and it's so easy that it's almost like, really? Does this work?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
Because your mind likes to overcomplicate everything.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, we've been so used to struggle
that
the idea that there's a simple tool that helps is almost like, nah, that can't be that. It's too easy.
Definitely, because I even see that, you know, even with my own self and with other people, that it's almost like a reluctance to go there. Oh, because it's too easy, so therefore I need to do all these other hard things first. And then I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think as I'm seeing it more myself, I'm like in a much greater place of conviction.
That's incredible.
About bringing them in quicker now with people.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really incredible. Well, shall I tell you a little story about my first time with fragrance alchemy?
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, you hit it in a nutshell so well. It was the thing that changed everything for me. And I was one of those who just done endless self-work for years and years and years, but just could not seem to get beyond particular things that never went away in my life.
Yeah.
And I came from a very traumatic background, and I just could not get beyond the paradigm that I lived in, where this is just the norm, you know? Nothing I did worked.
Yeah.
And the first time I used fragrance alchemy, I think I've told you this before, but I applied the entire 12 meridian oil set all in one go.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of a crazy thing to do in retrospect.
Yeah.
But I was walking down the stairs, and for some reason there just happened to be a pin on the stairs which punctured my kidney meridian on the bottom of my foot.
Yeah.
The kidneys hold fear, and it was like this big whoosh release of fear from my entire energy body happened in a split second, and that was one of the most profound experiences of my life. And my continued use with the fragrance alchemy over the next maybe 3 to 4 weeks utterly and totally changed my existence beyond any description. There is simply no comparison to how it was before. It literally changes the fabric of your reality. And I can tell you why that is.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Okay, so in a nutshell, when we are living in the reality of separation that most of us have been in, well, all of us have for many, many ages, it's a reality composed of building blocks. And I'll try not to get too deep into this, but imagine it's like your reality is made up of a certain variety of blocks, building blocks. There are certain things like light and frequency and so on, but we can imagine them like Lego blocks, you know, just for the sake of ease. Yeah. It's like children's blocks that you build something with. And in a reality of separation, we've only got a set of certain blocks. That's all there is to it. And what the building blocks are actually held in place by is distorted frequency. And distorted frequency is the emotions related to the dream of separation that are actually stored in the meridians of our body. So long as they're there, we're stuck with only a certain set of building blocks. Yeah. And you can rearrange the blocks as much as you like, but ultimately you end up with the same thing in a different combination. So no matter how much your life might change, you end up with essentially the same situations in a slightly different variety.
And that's absolutely fascinating, because literally, you know, that's what I see time and time again.
All over the place. Yeah.
With everyone,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas working with the tools such as fragrance alchemy, we'll talk specifically about fragrance alchemy now. What it does is it clears out those distorted frequencies from the meridians and restores the pure tones, the pure frequencies that should be there in a reality that is beyond separation.
Yeah.
And that gives us a whole different set of blocks to work with. So from those different set of blocks, we can build a completely different reality.
Yeah.
Because we now finally have different materials.
That's amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it?
So it's real upgrading of everything,
Totally,
isn't it?
Totally.
And would you say that that ties into helping harmonise your inner family?
Absolutely.
With the meridians
Absolutely,
being cleared?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know as well from doing this work, you can't work on one thing without everything else being affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yes, absolutely, it ties in very much.
That's amazing. And I think, I suppose when you are on this path as well, you are looking now for, I suppose, greater ease now at this point.
Very much.
You know, for everyone, you know, it's like, because we've all gone through our own battles, and we've gone through, you know, being in separation. It's with lots of challenges.
Very much, yes.
So I think this kind of transit out into this new template is, I suppose, everything's going to change from this point.
Very much so, very much. There's something that I'd like to mention on that I've noticed that I find very interesting. I've noticed that a great many at the moment, most particularly we'll speak of light workers, because that's more likely who's going to be listening to this.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah.
But many are still trying to cling to that there is value in trawling through the pain and trawling through processing their emotions and all of those things.
Yeah.
That at this point is truly an old way for us to do things.
Yeah.
We don't need to process anymore. With these tools of grace, they're called tools of grace for a reason. It's because they allow for graceful and effortless release of what we no longer need. And as we allow that, the insights that we might require come to us spontaneously.
Absolutely.
So for many, there is a need to kind of relinquish the overvaluing on doing things in the way of trawling, as we have done in the past.
Yeah.
And I find that that's an important step to actually enable us to open up to this more graceful way now.
Definitely. Because when you say that, it's like, and as you were saying before, you can't just do this in one area. Like, for example, I'm just going to clear out my meridians, and I'm not going to factor that into the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
It's really, this is kind of looking at every segment of your life and kind of creating this new philosophy, isn't it, of living?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, metaphysically, the meridians are actually one of the capacities that literally forms your reality. So when you're working on the meridians, you're working on the metaphysical phenomenon that causes your reality to exist around you.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
So it's like people are despondent with the out picture of their life.
Absolutely.
And so the answer is actually all of here, like as in what's
Dealing
flowing
with,
through
yes,
it.
Yes.
But that is so empowering, because no longer do you have to spend years trying to sort things out in the outer space. We actually now have the ultimate great gift of grace in that we can do this quite quickly, really. Obviously, you don't want to speed through it, but you want, this isn't something that's going to be dragging on. You know, it's actually going to be quite a nice pace of unfolding.
Very much. That's beautifully put.
Yeah.
There's something interesting, well, there are many interesting things, but something particular about separation consciousness in which we've lived for many ages. And it's that it says, I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
It's isolatory, and it's all about the individual on their own solitary journey. But really, to move beyond separation consciousness, which is what is causing us so much pain on our planet right now, we have to be willing to open to a more inclusive view of accepting the gifts of grace that are available to us. We don't need to do it in the individual sense of I'm alone in this big bad world.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's what can happen as well. And I suppose because we're coming out of that separation consciousness, in that we're not used to kind of having that like support of others stepping in, and it's like realizing we're not meant to do everything on our own.
Completely.
We're actually we're all interconnected with one another.
Absolutely. And I was speaking just a very particular nuance there as well, about being open to help and support from the universe, from life itself, not just from others, but from the cosmos. So
you're seeing it as an extension of yourself,
yes,
as opposed to oh look, I'm so happy to have that person help me.
That's precisely it. Precisely.
So these are all kind of like, really what you're saying is, it's not just about doing, say, oh, I'm going to clear out my meridians, oh, I'm going to, sort out my inner family. It really is kind of living this new it's moment to moment, isn't it? And it's gaining these new insights, because even you saying that, it's like you're constantly training yourself, because you have to almost manually come out of the old way of thinking
initially, yes,
and then it starts to become
very
like
much
fluidic, and you're then fluent.
That's
eventually.
a very good point.
Yeah.
And initially it requires some effort
Yeah.
for it to become effortless.
Yeah, it's like first, like it's like learning to ride a bicycle. The beginning is
Yes.
like, oh, I'm falling over, and oh yeah, and now no, look at me cycling, I'm fine now. Yeah,
That's actually a great analogy
Isn't it?
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me that was a huge thing that I knew, and I suppose I took that from you as well, kind of saying this is spiritual warriorship, in that you have to, like, you can't just practice this at the weekend. This is like your life. You have to do this in every day.
Absolutely.
Every scenario. You can't go back into, in a certain situation, I'll imagine that all those people are separate to me, because
absolutely
that was for me a huge shift in the way that I now communicate and deal with situations that I'm coming
absolutely.
into.
It becomes a way of life rather than a spiritual practice.
That's
if you
it.
will.
A way of life. Yeah. So it's like you don't have this compartmentalized spiritual practice that you sit on your meditation pillow and then you go off and you see everyone as opposite to you, and
absolutely.
The way it used to be.
Absolutely. And I've always said that I'm not a proponent of sitting on a mat type meditation. I like life in meditation.
Life in meditation.
And that's a far more effective way of approaching mastery, I find.
I feel so too. Yeah, because it's almost like you want to learn all these different concepts, but you want to be practicing them every day, at all times. So.
And we said that earlier as well. You can study as much as you like, but there's a difference between study and the mastery which comes in the practical application.
Yeah, exactly. Because what it is like you go to university, say, and you study, like for me, I studied occupational therapy, and you learn lots of theory, and you read lots of books, and you write lots of essays. But ultimately, you don't know how to be an occupational therapist until you start to practice it.
Absolutely.
So it's really like that. This is a discipline, like any other discipline on earth.
Brilliantly described. Yeah.
So it's kind of bringing everything now into the field.
That's great too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really exciting. So apart from the fragrance alchemy, is there anything else, and the inner family, is there anything else that you would like to share as like what's basically happening with people at the moment?
Would you like to ask me something specific? Like is there a particular area? Because it's such a broad subject, you know?
Let me see. So I suppose, I'm obviously part of your group online, the Luminous Beings Portal, and I love how you're talking about everything physically landing in now
absolutely
into our human life, and a lot of the topics you're talking about, for me, that pops out is the whole story of wealth creation.
Absolutely.
And like, why is it, I suppose, that people, light workers, find it challenging to, gain financial freedom?
So there are actually multiple reasons for that. I could go into a lot of them, but I'll say maybe just a few.
Yeah.
One reason is because most of us have come from realms that are a lot less dense than this. We are from Earth, of course. All of us are. Earth is the home of life, essentially. But many of us have been elsewhere for quite a long time. So coming to Earth in itself was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
It's very dense compared to being non-physical, for example. So the very fact of actually physicalizing ourselves is very difficult for light workers. That's one aspect of it.
I totally identify with that.
Most of us do.
Yeah.
But unless we're fully embodied, it's impossible to manifest abundant physical resources.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. Another reason, and I'm not sure how deeply you want me to go into this, so I'll kind of skirt around it and you can ask me more if you like.
Yeah.
Light workers have tremendous power to change the face of life on Earth. And those who have not wanted the face of life on Earth to be changed have deliberately programmed light workers that we don't land in our physicality. To make sure that we don't end up being the ones with massive wealth in our hands, because that would obviously topple a lot of the systems that are based on the wealth being in the hands of just a few.
Exactly.
So that's another reason. There are very, very, very deep programs.
Okay.
And unless you really go down the rabbit hole with them, you won't necessarily even spot them.
Yeah.